Hey, this is going to be a review for Impact for the 26th of March, and I thought this was a fairly good show. There were only 3 matches on it, but one of them was very long and actually really quite entertaining, and I thought the storylines made a lot of sense. I liked the Sting Foley segment, so I think there was a lot going for this Impact. It started off, Jim Cornette in the ring. He was telling us that there'd be lethal lockdown at Lockdown, which is basically war games with weapons. For any WCW fans. Uh, then he explained that tonight the team captains would be selected via a 20-man steel cage gauntlet match, which is sort of like a Royal Rumble inside a steel cage where people are eliminated by pinfall or submission. And I suppose that reference is for WWE fans. Yeah. He described both those concepts as very simple, but as you can tell, they take some time to explain, and if I hadn't known what they were already, I would have still been very confused by his explanation. Anyway, Jim Cornette says it's going to be a level playing field tonight, anyone can be captain, which of course means Kurt Angle comes out. I'm getting a little bit sick of these predictable Angle comes out, Foley comes out, Jarrett comes out, Sting comes out, etc., etc., etc. But Angle comes out. He says that no one else is going to get a chance to be captain because the main event Mafia are going to dominate it tonight, and they're going to make sure that Angle is the captain, and then he's going to pick Booker, Scott Steiner, who's not mutilated anymore. Don't know what quite happened there. Last week he had to hide under a suicide mask, but this week apparently not. And Kevin Nash, who will be fit apparently for Lockdown. Yeah, then Jeff Jarrett comes out and he decides that he's going to enter the gauntlet match specifically to stop Kurt Angle from becoming a captain. I'm a little bit bored by this storyline. I don't particularly care, but it should lead to one more good match. Hopefully the storyline ends after Lockdown and Kurt Angle can go on to something else, possibly winning a title of some kind. Anyway, they go backstage and Kurt Angle claims he's going to make sure Jarrett doesn't reach the ring tonight. He goes after him with a steel pipe and he goes to his office, but members of the front line stop him, etc., 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 all leading up to the gauntlet match later on tonight. First match of the night was Kiyoshi versus Suicide. This was an okay match. This was not great. I don't particularly like either of these performers, right? Don't get me wrong, I love Christopher Daniels. I think he's fantastic. As the Fallen Angel, he's great. But I don't think he particularly suits Suicide's mannerisms or Suicide's moveset. I don't think he suited Curryman's moveset either. I just wish they put him back to Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel, because his moves are fucking brilliant. But yeah, I don't really think he suits the Suicide character. And this was a fairly boring match. Suicide is surprisingly over, which shocked me because I didn't think that this sort of stupid gimmick would be able to get over, like someone coming from a video game and becoming into actual life. But all the fans were cheering for him. They all had Suicide t-shirts, presumably because they were giving away 3 or something, I don't know. But yeah, Kiyoshi for me is a bit of a sort of blah wrestler. I don't particularly care about him. I never really saw the Great Muta before. I didn't watch WCW during that time. But I can't imagine he was as boring as this if he's so liked. But yeah, Kiyoshi came down with No Limit, and basically the match ended with No Limit. Kiyoshi was pushed into No Limit, and then Suicide hit the Suicide Solution, which is an incredibly stupid name for a move. Also, Christopher Daniels doesn't appear to be able to do the DOA, the Dead on the Arrival, which is a sort of sunset flip power bomb apparently, or something like that it's supposed to be, which doesn't make any sense. So apparently now Suicide can't even do the moves he does in the game, making this gimmick totally pointless. But I suppose no one bought the game anyway, so it doesn't make much difference. Anyway, then we had a Team 3D versus Beer Money sit down promo thing. Beer Money coming off as very face to me right now. They were talking about how they didn't have Jacqueline there, how they were just out to prove they were the greatest tag team ever, etc., etc. And I was like, fair enough, good for you. I mean, that's not a heel thing to do. A couple of weeks ago, they were laughing about ending people's careers, and now they're just out to prove how good they are. I don't really get that, particularly as surely this is not the time to make them seem facey, as they're about to go to Philadelphia, where they will definitely be the heels against Team 3D in the crowd's opinion. Also, they're so over as a heel tag team. People love them as a heel tag team. As a face tag team, they're not going to make any sense. I don't get that. They're comedy heels anyway. It's not like it even matters. But sure. Then we had the Beautiful People do a promo where they're just talking about how they weren't afraid of Awesome Kong, and they've got a match with Kong and Saeed tonight, and Madison Rayne would have to cut Kong's hair at the end of the match. Leading up to this match, Beautiful People, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love versus Kong and Saeed. It was okay. Saeed was in the ring for much of the time. I take it because Kong's injured. I don't really know much about Kong's injury, but I hear she is injured. Saeed definitely playing the face role in this. The Beautiful People are definitely the heels, according to this, even though they're the ones getting cheered by the crowd. They are the heels. Saeed, for example, was the one who was getting beat down, and heel tactics to stop her from tagging Kong, and then she had a flurry of offense, which was very, very face-like. Yeah, so the face-heel confusion, as usual, on TNA. Angelina Love wins with the lights out. Obviously that storyline with the governor, the Beautiful People were actually spending that time just learning to wrestle better, because Velvet Sky particularly has improved. Angelina Love, who was always quite good, looks a little less sloppy than she once did, so that's good. By the way, the difference between the Beautiful People and My Pie Sexy, I think the Beautiful People are the Angelina Love and Velvet Sky as a tag team, and My Pie Sexy is a sort of cult in which you can initiate people like Madison Rayne. Yeah, and they're sort of a combination between, or at least they looked when they tried to cut Kong's hair, of the witches from Macbeth, some jackals, and a bottle of hair dye, something like that, you know. Yeah, then the other main storyline leading through the night was Mick Foley, Sting. They both did a promo backstage. Sting was just like, "How could you do this, Mick?" You know how Sting says the person's name about 100 times during the promo? That really annoys me. "How could you do this, Mick? What have I ever done to you, Mick? I was just being kind, Mick." And then Mick Foley says that tonight they're going to go out there, they're going to hug, because that's what wrestling fans like, and it's all going to be a big misunderstanding, and they're going to make up for it, which I find quite funny. Anyway, they meet in the ring, and really good promo from Mick Foley. Sting's pretty good. He says Mick too much, but he's pretty good. Basically, Mick Foley's having a laugh at Sting's expense. Sting's like, "Do you think this is funny? I don't think this is funny," etc., etc. I sounded a bit like Goodfellas there. Yeah. Anyway, Mick Foley promises that he's not just a director anymore. He is a wrestler, and that he can still take a few falls off a cage, which is basically a promise, if you ask me, that he's going to go off the cage. And if he doesn't, I'm going to feel a bit shortchanged, right? Because people are buying the pay-per-views on that promise, surely. Yeah, but Mick Foley, basically the line is that we're not going to be reliving history like he was on Hardcore History, etc. We're going to be making history. And yeah, I don't know, it's all sounded pretty good to me. I didn't realize this was a title match until today, like when they described it as a title match. I can understand. How can Mick Foley possibly be the number one contender? That makes no sense. He's not beating anyone. How can he be the number one contender? If I was, either they could have dropped the title to Angle at the last pay-per-view, which made perfect sense, as Angle looked great once again in the ring today, or they could just have this non-title. You could make Foley more of a heel. This would be my idea, in fact, and you could say, well, because you're not defending the title at Lockdown, I'm going to make you defend the title tonight against AJ Styles, and the next week I'm going to make you defend the title tonight against Samoa Joe, and just have these guys go mental on him. So Sting's basically a shell by the time they reach the match, and then you could have Foley win clean. I don't know. That's what I do. Anyway, turnover for